Welcome to Rooted and Rising, a soulful podcast hosted by Dr. Cheri and Ellice Boone. Join the conversation as Dr. Cheri and Ellice explore the transformative power of holistic healing from the inside out. Together, they guide listeners through the deep work of reconnecting with their roots, uncovering the unconscious wounds that shape us, and rising into the fullness of our higher selves. So please, welcome the hosts of Rooted and Rising, Dr. Cheri and Ellice Boone.
Welcome to Rooted and Rising. I'm Dr. Cheri. I'm here with Ellice Boone. We're excited about this episode. And so the question I have for you to ponder about is, what if the exhaustion you feel isn't because you're doing too much? What if it's because you aren't connected any longer to your own energy force? That is something that maybe we don't always pay attention to. And so I would like us to begin and right in and step into our meditation so we can get all grounded, because I want us to reach a new level of embodiment as we explore this topic today.
Thank you, Cheri. Yes, it's such a good topic. And so I'd love to invite our listeners to find a quiet space where you can have just a few moments to yourself. And if it feels comfortable for you and safe to do so, I think this meditation is done best sitting in a chair because of the exercise that we'll be doing. So if you're sitting comfortably in a chair now, I ask that you take a deep breath, maybe the first deep breath of the day, in through the nose and out through the mouth. I'd like to do that again and perhaps deepen here. And one thing we'd like to add in is to slow down the exhale. So if we start on the inhale here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And on the exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Try that again. The inhale through the nose, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and out through the mouth, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So just noticing here as you sit with your body, what it feels like to be in this body in this moment. Noticing your breath here, noticing its rhythm, its natural rhythm. Noticing the chest as it rises and falls. And now, if you haven't already, I invite you, if it feels safe to do so, to close your eyes. And what I would like you to do is imagine that you are sitting in a chair as you are, and that you can physically step up and out of your body. So this part of you that is your mind and able to think and process can step out of the body sitting here in the chair. And now perhaps you can step just in front of yourself. There's a chair sitting there. Sit down in that chair in front of you, facing yourself. And I'd like you to really pause here and notice not what the self looks like, but what it feels like to be in your presence. Really pausing here. Allowing that self sense to come through. Allowing any feelings to come through without judging, without changing. What does it feel like to be in front of you? What does your energy feel like in this moment? There are no right or wrong answers here. Just noticing, observing, and being curious. What does it feel like to be near you? Allowing those thoughts to come through, taking note. And now I want you to imagine that you have the power of seeing other people's energy, seeing it with your eyes. And as you still remain sitting here, facing your other self, look at you and use that power to see your aura, your energetic field. What is surrounding you? Take your time here to allow the visions to surface without forcing. Taking it in, seeing yourself sitting in front of you and an energy field surrounding you. What do you see? Is there a color that feels more prominent? Is there a brightness about this energy? Or perhaps things feel more foggy, soft focus, or even dull? Do you see darkness, shadows? How is your energy seen through your eyes? Again, allowing these visions to trickle in without judgment, but with a mind of curiosity. And now here, I'd like you to imagine reaching out your hands and holding the hands of yourself that is sitting in front of you. Imagine that the energy you hold, you can exchange freely within this self that is sitting here before you. And also imagine that this energy that you hold, you can amplify. So let's find your heart space, the source of love, the source of much emotion, the source of energy. Find that heart space, maybe with your breath, or just resting your awareness here on the heart space. Allow your next breath to fill your heart with light. Feel the warmth and the glow of that heart space. Allow that to expand as you hold the hands of yourself in front of you. Allow each breath to expand that light, starting at the heart center and expanding out through the arms, down through the hands, into the person in front of you. Imagine that energy continuing to build, glow, grow, and push into the person in front of you. Allow that light to wash over them, to fill any dark, shadowy places with warmth and light. Feel what it feels like to breathe in life force and push out energy. Deep breath in here. Soaking in the feeling of warmth and light, and noticing the energy that you are able to build in this moment. Allowing your last couple of breaths here to push more light, more energy, and allow that to become this circular rhythm. What's going out of you is also coming back to you. And now when it feels right for you, take a moment to observe. If it feels good to let go of the hands that you are holding and place them on your heart, just noticing the breath, noticing the touch of your hand. If you can feel your heartbeat beneath, or if you can feel the cool touch or warm touch of your hand on your chest. Coming back into our physical bodies now, I'd actually like you to imagine yourself standing as the two versions of you. Walk up and hug one another. Allow yourself to feel that hug, that embrace. Allow yourself to feel the love that is present here and anything else that is present. Really sink into that hug. Allow yourself to receive. And as you continue hugging, imagine that you merge back into the one person that you are. Taking a deep breath here. Noticing any subtle shifts in the body as you fully come back into this body in this moment. Perhaps inviting in the hands and the feet to move, or even reaching around and giving yourself a real hug in real life, a big squeeze. And just noticing any subtle shifts in what you feel, in what the body feels, in your energy. Does it feel lighter? Does it feel softer? Has it stayed the same? No right answers. Nothing to achieve, just noticing and remaining curious. Thank you for joining that meditation to get a little glimpse into what it feels like to notice our energy.
That was beautiful. And what a perfect, I feel like it was perfect meditation for me. That's so ironic. You know, I feel like I have been, as everyone knows, I have been in the midst of writing my next book, and it's called Right Now Preliminary, The Woman I Had to Outgrow. And one of the cover ideas was just this imagery, which is fascinating to me facing me. So that was like, whoa, I felt this, um, the energy from the first me was rainbow, like rainbow colors just expanding out from me, and it was meant like the impression was to make sure humanity is inclusive. It just like everyone can be touched, and so that was kind of fascinating. And then the me facing me was this white and golden light. Like we had coming from her heart, and then when we held our, I can't remember all of it, when we held our hands, these two lights merged, and ironically, an image came from, well, I saw the news last night where in Hawaii, in the Big Island, the volcano exploded, and they showed it raging with its fire, and then next to it was a rainbow, and it's in the sky, and so it made the national news because it's so phenomenal. But that's kind of what I felt, this beautiful fire of light and the merging of the rainbow and expansive. And then just this love that just grew as we merged together. It was the energy of love. I hope everyone does this meditation, because I think that we can all grow in knowing who we are, what we're really about. And so that's enough for me. I think it'd be a good time to take a break, and then we can get into how this applies to today's topic. See you in a moment.
Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back to Rooted and Rising. We just had a phenomenal meditation by Ellice, and I just still feel so warm about it. And now, Ellice, I'm just dying to hear your impression of this, as well as how this applies, to our topic today.
Yeah, thank you, Cheri. Thanks for always being such a willing participant and sharing your experience after meditations. I feel like it's always so beautiful because you dive fully in. And so you have these beautiful visualizations and you really experience, to the fullest extent, what I'm wanting people to experience. So may we all attain to that someday. Yes, energy. What is energy? I feel like if you asked me 10 years ago or more, I would have thought, I don't know, energy is kind of woo-woo. But yet today, I experience energy in such a different way. And I know that it is something that is a part of everything that we do subconsciously. And I think just to kind of distill it down for people to really understand, if you think this concept of energy is out there a little bit for you, what does it feel like when you walk into a room and two people have just been fighting and you walk in and you just kind of feel tense and uncomfortable? That is energy. It's something that you can't see, but you feel it. You might feel it in the way your body responds to it. You might feel it in just an emotion that comes up for you that feels out of place or out of nowhere, that's not coming directly from you. Energy is something that we all have and we all respond to constantly. Our bodies and our minds and our energy fields are all these intelligent sources of information that are just constantly running in the background. Behind the conscious mind, there's this energetic field that is always transforming, shifting, depending on our environment. So today we're kind of touching in, and that's why we wanted to start with the meditation, because tapping into what our energy looks and feels like is one of the first steps in identifying that we have this separate energy field. And if we already know this, if you're listening today and you're like, oh yeah, I know energy, I believe in energy, I'm aware of energies, I really feel and notice energies, beautiful. Then this is a wonderful way to go a little bit deeper into how you're paying attention to your energy field, what messages it's sending you, and also how to shift your energy field so that It's something that you're not only aware of, but you're sort of dancing with in life. You can take this dance of your energy and you can shift it, you can change it, you can mold it. And so once we become aware that we have an energy field and then we are working with it, we can truly change how we're showing up in the world, how other people receive us, how they feel when they're around us, and how we feel when we're around other people. And I think in that, protecting our energy field when we're around people that might feel draining or exhausting after we're around them. There's reasons for all of these parts. So that's my perspective, and we're going to bring in a lot of different information about energy and how it's impacted in each of us today. And yeah, I'm just excited to dive in and have this conversation with you, Dr. Cheri.
Yes, I don't, I'm excited about this conversation because I don't know if I really have had an in-depth conversation with many people about this. And, as the reality as an energy worker, I've had all kinds of trainings that talk about, that taught me about energy, and that we really are just, we don't just have an energy field, we're just balls of energy. And other words for that energy is intelligence. We're intelligences. There's the mind, body, spirit, but every element carries an energy of its own. And so it's kind of exciting. And I remember, sitting in one of my yoga training classes, and the whole class was about, getting in touch with move our subtle energy bodies, and to be able to like have that content, that be in that meditative yoga place, and those poses where you can move through your own energy field. It's just not staying in the pose. And it's something that registers when you experience it. This is really about lived experiences. And then another the energy of being, taught that, if we just put our hands in front of us and we just hold, if we hold a while, we'll start feeling warmth. And what is that warmth? That's our energy. And then if we can kind of play with it, we can feel a pressure. And what's that pressure? That's our energy. And then we pull our hands farther apart, we can feel the pressure, and point where you get your hands clear across, and you can still feel this energy connection between two hands. And so those are kind of fun little games. I know also prayer. Part of the first place I experienced energy, you feel this shift in mood. You feel this shift in your body of relaxation, and sometimes that energy going out and energy coming back. Meditation is that quieting, and in that quieting there is a stillness that is energy. And so there, we just could go on and on. And there's been a lot of, this is where energy kind of started with, is all these, I'm going to call spiritual aspects of what is energy, but in today's, like Elise said, 10 years ago, this is where we'd kind of stay. But now science has stepped in as well, as just as another testimony, of a way of how our bodies emanate energy. And one is, they found that we have mirror neurons in our brains, and we have that have emotional contagions. We have co-regulation, and then we have this nervous system resonance. And so what is all this? I think this is important to talk about, because it just helps the people that really need the rational brain to kick in to understand this, and also, again, like I said, another testament is really important. Our mirror neurons are those specialized brain cells that I think that activate both, when we perform an action as well as we observe someone else performing an action. It's that time when we feel what others are feeling. Sometimes we call that intuition. Sometimes that we just kind of like, what is that? And so, it may be, sometimes we notice, like, someone yawns, then we yawn too. A friend, begins to cry, and all of a sudden we just like want to cry with them. When we see someone injured, we cringe. We can actually feel it. Or someone tells a story of being injured, we can feel it in our body. That is the mirror neurons, and they help. And they help explain why we have emotions that can feel contagious, why we absorb other people's moods. We can also can help healthy relationships to heal. And toxic environments tell us, okay, I'm draining you, and that can be a warning and a safety measure to keep us, to put us in a better place. So that is the mirror neurons. And I don't know, before going to the other one, I'd love to hear from you, Elise, if you've, experienced any of that.
Oh my goodness, yes. I feel like with this specific topic, the mirror neurons, I think I've described it in my life as being empathic. And that feeling of, I think there's so many people that are highly sensitive and very empathic, and they don't even realize it. So you mentioned something like being around someone where your energy feels really drained afterwards, and or being with someone that's a friend who's going through something emotional, and we cry with them. Um, it's not really explainable, but when you stop and look at it, it makes so much sense. Like these are the ways that we're able to feel and mirror humans in order to really deepen connection with people. And so it's a beautiful skill to have, and it's kind of magical if you think about it. It's this communication system that's going on that's way beyond words. It is an energetic and emotional exchange. So, I feel I am very empathic, and I can really feel people's emotions and take on. And so that has been something for me that's been beautiful, but also something I have to really protect. In the sense that in certain spaces where people are feeling things that are really heavy, I used to just allow all that energy to just come into me, and it would weigh me down and it would feel really exhausting. And so I sort of had to learn how to hold a space energetically. And this is all unseen, right? But maybe somewhat mental, where it was, okay, I am seeing that they are going through this deep thing, and I can feel really emotional and empathic with them. But I don't have to hold their energy. I don't have to hold that heaviness. And so just kind of like letting that go, mentally telling myself, this isn't my experience, this is their experience. And also doing some maybe physical movements in the body to sort of just shake it off, take a bath, wash it off, kind of cleanse from that experience has been really helpful for me. And then also like boundaries, creating that space of this is them and I am me. We are not merged completely together, and I don't have to fully take on this whole experience. So that's what came to mind when you started speaking to that I've struggled with it a little bit. It's been
I
interesting.
mean, and I think that's very insightful, because I think most of us do. And I know, like in my profession, I've had to, I felt I am too a very empathic, intuitive, and I learned from, people say, how can you just carry all this? And the answer is I don't. When someone walks in the room, it's their space. When they walk out, they take their story with them. And it's not, it would be immoral for me to hijack their story and take on their energy. And however, when we're not aware of our, if we're not aware of our intuitive sense, or we're not aware of our hypervigilance, then we can, hypervigilance usually is a trauma reaction. And usually we have, with people who have deep trauma or multiple traumas, they can appear very highly intuitive, which is a byproduct of hypervigilance. It's a survival level of it. And they are looking to latch on for rescue. And so that makes someone like you, or me in my profession, or be vulnerable to take on stories. And what that does inhibits their ability to manage their own lives. All this is really important and so we're not aware. We just kind of go on with life. We don't know what we're carrying and what we're giving away. And so I do feel, hope this kind of impresses, curiosity about, okay, where am I in my, in my mirror, not neurons, and how do I take on, how do I connect with people, and do I need to go and brush myself, or do I need to go jump up and down and, and do some belly laughs to release the energy that's not mine. So many insightful, and I perfect. So I'll let you think about that as we take the next break and then dive into the next. See you in a moment.
Master of words, powerful player. What life-changing words can Dr. Janet Smith Warfield pull out of her magical toolbox that just might mysteriously open a door you never knew was there? A door to free yourself from fear forever. Transform your rage into right action. Release your guilt. Position you into a life of freedom, purpose, passion, power, and peace. All quite suddenly, unexpectedly, and almost miraculously, with no effort on your part. Join Dr. Janet on Dancing with Words, Dancing with Wisdom, as she and her guests show you how words map our experiences, immersing you in a sound bath that relaxes your muscles, opens your mind, and supports you in co-creating your extraordinary life. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals.
Hi, and welcome back to Rooted and Rising. I'm here with Dr. Cheri, and we're discussing today the energy body and how our energetics really play a huge role in who we are, how we're showing up in the world, and how we're perceiving and receiving information. She spoke a little bit about these mirror neurons, which was fascinating, and I sort of related it to what I used to call being an empath. And I think a lot of people can relate to what you were saying, Dr. Cheri. I also think the next thing we were going to talk about, it almost merges in with this one, maybe to have some overlap. But you mentioned it before, it's emotional contagion, or like catching feelings. So I'd love to hear you broaden our minds on that topic specifically.
Yeah, I think I love this because I think that, obviously we do this every day, and it does little run into from where we started. It's a tendency for just emotions. They will spread from one person to another, and so we're never not seen, and we're never really invisible. And so I think about children and babies. They will pick up on the emotion, energy, first and foremost, and they'll sometimes call it out. They usually call it out. Adults will have become we come to numb ourselves from it, and we deny that because we're so stuck in the rational head that we'll just override it, and then we kind of like step out of ourselves. So we will, then without realizing, we still absorb unconsciously the energy or mirror, like, these emotional states. Like if an anxious person enters a room, the whole room can feel the tension. Or if a
Mhm.
very happy, gregarious person enters the room, everyone just perks up and smiles. It's like they don't even realize, that they're matching that person. It's the strongest energy force in the room. And I think that this is really, important, especially when we are parenting. If we're stressed, a lot of times people will try to hide the stress with their child, and with controlled speak, or with a smile, but there's tears in our eyes. The child will always say, why are you crying, mommy? And so because they will go to the emotion that is authentic, and I think that's just a really good way for us to reflect on, like, how am I showing up? It's we automatically, share our facial expressions. We share the tone in our voice, and we share our posture. It could be a slide of the hand, like to the face, and so these emotional states don't ever escape us. And if we deny them, if someone calls them out and we deny them, we create a dissonance between the other person. and they'll feel like they'll kind of pull away, or you can see on their face, like, I don't like what you just said. And so we really want to connect with the person, to do as children do, and we can like call it out and see that. Such a great experience, and it's courageous because our today's society, we just don't do that as often as I think we should or
Yeah,
could.
it's so true. I actually love the illustration of children because you're right there. They don't have all of these social structures that say what's polite yet, and what you need to do, where we often bypass our feelings. And for instance, when a kid kind of shrinks back when someone's trying to reach out for them, they're feeling this energy of like, I don't know you or trust you yet. And, that I'm going to pull away. For us, we often are like, oh, well, I feel uncomfortable with this person, but I'm still going to give them a hug. I'm still going to do the polite thing. And there's all these little ways that we bypass what we're actually feeling in this energy system, which is informing us to keep us safe, to keep us happy. So it's fascinating. I think that's such a great point, to be more like a child, to sort of watch what we're feeling internally, and how our energy feels around certain people, and take some steps to protect the energy, or to maybe pull away if it feels that this isn't right. This doesn't feel like something I want to bypass, and embrace this person, or be in close connection with them, or sit here and have this conversation with them. There's so many ways that we can respect and honor that information that's coming in, which I think is important in life.
Very much so, very much so. And then that goes into, co-regulation, where we can borrow an energy and hopefully calmness from from another's nervous system. I think the nervous system is really the primary container of our energy field. And we've talked a lot about the nervous system and regulating the nervous system, and all this is really, regulating our energy. And I had, I learned this from a client. I thought was great, but he said that what regulates this awareness, that what regulates their system was having a body buddy. And it's like, if I and that body was like, if my, if I have a friend or, a family come and help me do the yard work, then I will do it. But when I think about it on my own, I get overwhelmed and I collapse. And so relying on that, connecting together in and recognize I need that person to move me forward, and very honest about it, so that person isn't being robbed. That person is willing to let them borrow that nervous system that was a strength for them, but maybe a weakness in that moment for that person to grow into. And so we are all biologically wired for this. A parent soothes a crying baby, and because a baby can't regulate, so now a parent can help. Parents nervous system of love and calmness can regulate the baby. When we are agitated, and just say, pick up the phone and say, can I talk to you? And a trusted friend, can be a listener, and that's like releases the angst that was preventing that regulation, and tapping into your own energy field. And hopefully that's my role as a therapist. I can help people feel less overwhelmed, and recognize, oh, I can be safe within myself, and I
Mhm.
do have that inner resourcing of all is okay. I'm okay. And so because often for the mind knows, the body knows. And so we just need, like, this is where the mind, body, spirit have to be maybe more one than we give credit for. And that also with co-regulation, that we learn, oh, I don't have to do this by myself, and maybe I shouldn't do by myself, and maybe I can't do by myself. And that's why we're relational beings, and so we get out of our own way, and then and maybe not, and also recognizing, even if we're the one that needs regulating, we are a gift to another person, with being present with their own energy field and their own gifts and their own calming. And we all grow from one another. Nothing stays the same. The one constant in life is change. And so every interaction we have, we're changing one another in hopefully a positive way.
Mm. Yeah, and I want to speak to the co-regulation you mentioned, you with your clients, because I've been able to witness it in the retreat format, and it's a really beautiful thing when you can step into a space and people can feel very trusting right away. And I know that that's the energy you bring into a space from witnessing it in these retreats. And I know that it's been very important for me to um, kind of work through some of the things I mentioned before of the empath side and not taking on too much. Before going into retreats, my energetic field is what I feel needs to be the cleanest. So in that way, I want to make sure that I'm stepping into a space just feeling really balanced and regulated. And I know that when I step into that space feeling that way, I am received differently, and people can feel more open towards me. They can feel more trusting, more safe in that space. And so, yeah, just touching on how important it is for us coming into a space where we're facilitating people through really vulnerable moments. Sometimes trauma is coming up. Sometimes they're having somatic experiences in some of our exercises that feel really intense. And how us not just taking on their energy or feeling super worried for them, but just holding. And I've really learned this from you, like holding the knowing that they're going to be okay, that they're going to move through this, and that the other side of that is growth and peace and understanding of yourself. And you've really shown me that in multiple occasions, and it's been sort of my, I would say, like a guiding light in a lighthouse. It just feels like, okay, that's where I have to come back to, that place of knowing that on the other side of this difficult emotion or thing that's arising for them is going to be so much beauty. And that is a very important place for me to be in so that they can co regulate, so they can believe in themselves and know that they're going to get through it. We're kind of their cheerleader on the other side, just holding that knowledge. So I just thought that was a cool way of me witnessing the co regulating and actually starting to work on the art of being a safe place for people to co regulate when they're moving through these intense or deeper experiences.
Well, thank you. And I think that was beautifully illustrated because it is an art. You know, I think that's a beautiful way of saying it too. We all are growing into that, art, and hopefully expanding on it. And this is where, if the intention is to have like a nervous system resonance, kind of being the tuning forks for human beings, whether we are, again, a mother holding a baby, or we are in a retreat center, and we're allowing that um, them struggle, maybe the challenge of collapsing and realizing, "Oh, I can catch myself,"
Mhm.
and I don't, and I'm not going back to where I was. I'm going forward, and this builds that inner confidence
Mhm.
in all parties. When I witness, this from another, is the confidence in myself. It's like it's a reassurance, and then as well as witnessing their confidence, and then ironically, what that does, it raises the vibration of energy for everyone present. So this is where the tuning fork, I think, really comes in. Is when I say, change is the only constant. We're constantly raising the vibration, and our capacity to be supercharged, human beings, is a real thing. And if we can kind of use the analogy that we're tuning forks, and the way when we strike a tuning fork, another one begins to vibrate, and every humans, humans work similarly. We simultaneously and similarly, and we can look for courage. If we need their facial, we need them to increase their energy, we can just smile, and
Mhm.
it's contagious, and they smile, and science has shown that raises the endorphins and in
Mhm.
our body, and so it creates those happy things. Eye contact, we know eye contact is very intimate, and if we have intentional eye contact, there usually is a connection, and that's an
Mhm.
energy connection. It's the tone of voice. We all reactive to tone of voices, and I've learned that in my practice in a very humbling way. And so there is, you just need to be like really, whether you talk too fast or you raise your voice a little too much, and then like you talk in your meditation, the breathing, the body language, the energetic presence. So we could go on and on, and so these are, all ways for us to know who we are. And then maybe we get back from this break, we can talk about how that applies in helping us connect back to our energy body and knowing ourselves and being more in tune with our authenticity. So
Mhm.
we'll take a break and listen in a moment.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk.
Hi, welcome back to Rooted and Rising. I'm Elise Boone, and I'm here with Dr. Cheri. We've just been talking all about energy, how it impacts us, how it is a part of us. And Cheri, I don't know if you want, we only have a few minutes left of this episode. We have so much more to talk about.
Yes,
We
we
might
do.
extend this into another podcast.
So,
But maybe you can give us like a little recap of what we just discussed, and then we can dive into just a couple of minutes of the energy body. So yeah, just give us the highlights of what you just shared.
I think mostly what I want people like walk away with is like reflect on the mirror neurons. Is why we feel what others feel. It's a pretty powerful that alone. And that and recognize the power of emotional contagion. We we are contagious, and we can choose. How do we want to be contagious? Do we want to be grumpy contagious, or do we want to be enlightening and contagious? And don't be afraid to ask for help and lean on somebody for that co-regulation. We all have moments where we get activated and we can't ground ourselves and we can't be ourselves and we can't feel sane, and this is where we are relational beings and we really want to honor that. And this connection is where the nervous system resonance really occurs. And again, it comes in very various ways. We walk in a room, if someone's we feel the tension, we absorb it. If we sit next to a person and they're calm, we can I just feel so good right now. And and so like pay attention to that and play with it and see if you can like get a greater awareness where you begin and where you end, and what you want to do with that. That is like the basis of this. We're far more
Yeah.
powerful, and we can supercharge the super energy, and our capacity can grow and grow and grow.
Mm, yes, so good. Well, that's inspiring. And I think will lead us into the next podcast where we're going to share more about ways that we really can drain ourselves of that energy field and then ways we can build it up. So we want to learn more about the supercharging. I want to
Yes,
do that.
yeah, for sure, right?
Yes, and then also ways like to notice. So some things that are just really practical and everyday life, where we can start tuning into this and being more aware of it. That is the first step, and then making choices once we are aware to help boost our energy or protect our energy from being drained. So That was beautiful. Thank you for all the wisdom there. Oh, I say one more thing that when you were speaking, I remembered how there was this time at a retreat where you actually we were doing an actual body movement session. And afterwards, you were sitting there and you just said, and I want everyone to just laugh now. And you started laughing. And I was in the back and I was just participating in the movement. And I just kind of sat up and I listened to you laughing and I just started hysterically laughing. It was like, it was contagious. It literally was just your laughter. And at first I was almost like caught off guard because I didn't know you were going to go into this spontaneously. And it like struck me as almost like, is this okay? And then everyone started laughing and me in the back, you in the front, just laughing. And everyone just started laughing. And it was such a beautiful moment of how energy is contagious, how we share these emotions, these feelings, and this energetic field, and how one person can truly impact an entire group with shifting the energy. So that was a beautiful illustration to me of witnessing it in person, and it was so fun. And now I do that once in a while. I'll do it with my daughter. She
I
thinks,
love it. Kids are great,
but
right?
she laughs and she can't help it. Like I will start laughing and she'll laugh, or like you said, I'll smile and she's like, that's not going to make me feel better. I'm like, just try it, just smile. And she'll do a weird smile, and then we'll laugh about it. And it shifts our mood. It shifts our perspective. It just takes us out of whatever little moment we were in together, having this conflict or her feeling upset or grumpy. And it's not that we're bypassing those feelings that she's having, but when it's time to shift out of that and try something new, we have the power to do so. And that's a beautiful thing to realize. So yeah, I just had to bring that up.
Thank you. That was great. That was so fun. It is, and it does kind of lead into like, for me, I tend to, when I say, expand out to humanity, I think, hopefully this will inspire all of us to be maybe a little more self-responsible and like wanting to be self-aware of what we project to others, because we have a choice. We can do the laughter or we can do the frown, and recognize, oh gosh, I'm pretty powerful either way. And and when we do the laughter, it builds our confidence and their confidence and the bonding. And it doesn't cost us anything. But sometimes we can get caught up in our stubbornness and unawarely, bring people down. So that little thing is like, play with it, be aware, like, just watch people, watch your environments, pay attention when you walk in a room, catch yourself before you step in and get out of the car to go somewhere, like, okay, what am I bringing with me? That might be fun.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And coming from an authentic place too, going back to what you
Yeah.
said about how we can feel people's energy. So if you're saying one thing, but you're feeling another, people sense that. We sense the
Yeah.
energy. So showing up in an authentic place may even mean just communicating, oh, I'm feeling this right now, and being
Yeah.
really honest about it.
Yeah.
And that can shift the energy in the room with vulnerability and relating. So it may not be putting on a smile, it may be, this is how I'm feeling in this moment, and showing up in that true authentic way. So
Go back to co-regulation and let someone carry us. Yes.
right, exactly. So it works multiple ways. Okay, I know we have no time left, so I'm going to jump into journal prompts here. We always encourage you all to take a moment to journal. It's such a powerful and simple and free tool. Here are the journal prompts for this week. Where am I leaking energy in my life? What relationships nourish my spirit? And what relationships deplete me? And if you get a chance to go back, rewatch the meditation, if you didn't really get into it, do it again, see what comes up. Or if you got into it, do it again, see what different things you see. Until next time, stay rooted.
And keep on rising. Thank you.
This has been Rooted and Rising with hosts Dr. Cheri and Ellice Boone. through honest conversation, clinical insight, and creative reflection. Dr. Cheri and Ellice will empower you to reclaim your voice, your vitality, and your vision. This podcast is not about quick fixes. It's a return to deep knowing, gentle unraveling, and lifelong integration. Tune in each week, Wednesdays, 12 noon Eastern.